So last week, I don't know if you're here, but it was a momentous day. We had baptisms. We had 11 baptisms, and that was, woo! And to celebrate the baptisms, we had barbecue. So if you're not here, you missed the baptisms and you missed the barbecues. Next time be here. No, just messing. But uh, if it was me just about 2, 3 years ago, I might have missed out on the barbecue too. Do you know why? Because I don't know if I've told you guys this, but I had issues with barbecues. Because when I was growing up, we didn't even call them barbecues. We called them braai. So if you're from Zimbabwe or South Africa, you know what I'm talking about. So I had issues with barbecues because as I was growing up and I saw the barbecue, how it was done, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna eat. Because it was one of these where you didn't have a designated chef like Dan, who's like, cooking and putting on the Susa spice and all that. You didn't have any of that. You just had random people at the party who would just come to the meat and just kind of flip it and then be on their way. And then the next person would come flip it and, take their little piece and be on their way. And then I'm like, are their hands even washed? And then even sometimes, I don't know if you guys do here, somebody would just come through, pour a bit of beer and wine on it. And when I saw that, like Job, I made a covenant with my mouth that I will never eat that stuff. So all my life, I did not eat barbecue. I just say to myself, anything cooked outside the kitchen, I'm not eating. If the kitchen is outdoors, I'm not eating. But if you know anything about barbecues, people who love barbecues. I mean, the moment they hear that you don't like barbecues, they make it their mission to have you taste the barbecue. Have you ever been to a party and you're not drinking, and people discover that you're not drinking, they make it their mission to make you drink. So I learned a long time ago, you just gotta pretend. You just go and hold that beer bottle, and you're good. No one's gonna talk to you. It's the same when it came to the barbecue. Stand in line, get the barbecue, hold it in your hand, and you're good. Anyway, if you think that pretending is bad, when we get to our psalm, you see that David also did some pretending. But then COVID hit. You remember COVID hit, and there was that time when we were cooped up in our houses, for like a really, really, really long time. So then at the end of that, when they kind of let us out a little bit, a friend invited me to a barbecue. So I think with COVID being cooped up in the house, I was like, okay, I will come. So I went to the barbecue. And this time, they gave me the barbecue meat. And I tasted. And it was good, y'all. Oh, man, I have been missing out. Man, all my life, man, for 10, 20 years, I've been missing out on some good barbecue. All I needed to do was to taste, to see, to experience for myself that this stuff is good. This is the same when it comes to God. I don't know about you, but maybe coming to church is just a habit. This is something that you do. Maybe you do it to please your spouse, or you do it out of obedience to your parents. So you know a bit about what church is about. You know about Jesus, but you have not tasted. You have not seen Jesus. You don't know the presence of God. You have not experienced it for yourself. So today I just want you to move beyond exploring. So just like me when I went to the barbecues, yes, I might not be eating, but I was looking. I was like, oh, this is a bit different. They've got one chef. This seems organized. This looks like Nando's. So when I did get that invitation a bit later on, I was able to say yes. So if you're just here out of duty, if you're just here to explore, that's okay. That's all right. But I want to invite you to taste and see for yourself that God indeed is good. And this is what our psalm is about. Like this would be our main verse here. Psalm 34, verses 8. And this is what it says. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. You've got to experience this for yourself. Don't be like, there's a TikTok clip of this guy who, I don't know if we have the picture, there's this guy who he doesn't know that this is royalty. So he just passes by, go to do his grocery shopping, and he's not experiencing what is happening because, look, this is it Prince William? Prince William and Princess, I assume Princess Kate. And, everybody's there clamoring, to be in the presence of royalty. But this guy is just like, no, I'm just going to get my groceries. He's not experiencing, he's not tasting what is going on. So I don't want that to be you. I want that you guys to know what Christianity is all about, to experience it for yourself. Don't let it be hearsay, something that you've read about, but let it be something that is deep, that is internal, that you will come to love God. And the thing is, what exactly is this psalm talking about when he says, taste and see that the Lord is good? And for answers to that, we get those answers in verse 3, verses 4, 5, and 6. So, I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. For those who look to him are radiant. They are never covered with shame. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him, and he saved him out of all his troubles. So what the psalmist here, who's David, the soon-to-be king of Israel, what he wants you to taste and see is specific. He wants you to taste the rescue of God. Have you ever tasted the deliverance of God when you're in a tight spot? Guys, let me say this. I'm going to go back to my roots a little bit. Usually I'm not as animated. Maybe a little bit. But today I might go Pentecostal on you. I might go African, or I might go African Pentecostal on you. So when that happens, just know that I'm going back to my roots, right? But let me tell you about David. David was being sought by King Saul. Saul wanted to kill him. And David was just running around, running for his life. And then when he had run out of places to hide, he goes, you know what? I'm going to go to Gath. I'm going to go to the Philistines. This is the arch enemies of Israel. I'm going to go hide out there. Maybe I will be safe there. But on the next verse, look what happens when David now is in Gath. They start going. But the servants of King Achish say to him, isn't this David, the king of the land? Isn't he the one they sing about in their dances? Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. This is one of the reasons why Saul wanted to kill David in the first place, because people were starting to like this young pretender. So that's why he started running away. But he thought the Philistines wouldn't recognize him. But his plan was a bit daft because he goes to Gath. And anything about Gath, this is where a guy called Goliath came from. So when he goes to Gath, people are saying, isn't he the guy who slayed our hero Goliath? Isn't this David? So at this point, David is very, very afraid. He is in trouble. He is that poor man who's crying to God for help. So what do you do when you're in trouble? When you're at a barbecue and people are wanting you to eat the barbecue? You pretend you're eating the barbecue. This is exactly what David did. David pretended to be a fool. David pretended to be mad. He literally was writing on walls, scratching on walls, drooling, pretending to be insane. that when they told the king said, "Why are you bringing me another madman? I've got enough of those in my own country. Now you're bringing me this fool over here." And because of that, David escaped. But when he reflects on that episode, he doesn't put the focus on his pretending. He doesn't put the focus on his shenanigans. He puts the focus on God rescuing him despite his flawed plan. He puts the rescue on God. So I'm going to ask you, have you ever been in a tight spot and God came through for you? I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to tell you some tight spots I've been in. I've been in a lot of tight spots over the years. You know, you've got an exam, especially Living Cert exam, university exams, and you know you should have studied hard, but you didn't study hard. But the night before, you take on Red Bull. This is not any endorsement of Red Bull, but I know people do this. I've heard people do this. You take on Red Bull and you study all night and you cram all night. And then the very few things that you have crammed, when you go sit your paper, those are the questions that are asked. Come on now. That is some rescue. That is some rescue. Or have you ever been fired? Not fired, maybe laid off from your job. That happened to me. I was laid off from my job. And I was given 6 months to live, to leave the job, No, 6 months to live. And 6, 5, 4, 3, nothing. I'm in desperation. I got 2 kids and a wife and 1 baby on the way, and I don't have anything else to do. But just in the nick of time, I get another job with a higher salary, and I get a redundancy from the other one, and I use that as a deposit to buy a house. I'm telling you, that is a rescue. And when I look into the crowd right now, some of you, according to the doctors, you're supposed to be dead. You're not supposed to be here. You're already given a prognosis that you've got 6 months to live. But 10 years on, you are still here. It is not because you are great. It's not that song, "I will survive." It is not that. It is because God has rescued you. God has rescued you. So don't think that you're so great. Don't be like, those teenagers that kind of, just when they go to a party, they just kind of stand on the side, kind of looking cool. I'm like, you're actually missing out. Get on the dance floor and enjoy yourself. By standing on the side, you're missing out. Taste and see. Come and see the goodness of God. So guys, I know you're here and you think that God has not come through for you. But I'm here to tell you the very fact that you are here is testimony that God has been here for you and rescued you. Talk to your parents, talk to your loved ones, talk to somebody, and they will tell you stories. Sometimes when I talk to my mom, they tell me stories like, when you're a baby, you almost died. You cried so much. You cry so much. You cry so much that the whatever your head almost caved in from the crying. That's what my mom tells me. But all I know is I am here. And if I think that is something that I've done, I am mistaken. It's because God came through for me. So how do you respond? How do you respond? And David tells us how to respond. So on the next slide, I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lips. I will glory in the Lord. Let the afflicted hear and rejoice. Glorify the Lord with me. Let us exalt his name. Come on, y'all. When it's time to sing, you got to sing. Come on, don't be standing there all aloof like you're all that. No. It's because God came through for you. So you got to sing. You got to open up your mouth and sing. And for some of you, you're saying, I know sometimes, men, you're like, I don't sing. That's okay. That's okay. But you know what? When you're in your car, put on that CD, put on that streaming, and you sing your heart out. I even got a recommendation for you on the next slide. There is a Christian group called Shane and Shane. and they have an album called Psalms, Psalms Volume 2. And on Psalms Volume 2, you will see Psalm 34, or Taste and See. Or you can actually just go on YouTube and you can just have that album and you can sing to God, extol God, and know that God is good and is worthy to be praised. So guys, let us sing to God. But then you might be here and you might be going, look, people are singing because this is after the fact. They've been rescued. God has already come through for them. What do you do before the rescue? Before the singing comes, before the praising comes, what are you to do? And again, David tells us in that psalm, as he's running from Saul, what is he doing? He is seeking the Lord. He is looking to God. He is calling out to God. He is crying out for help. Again, don't be too cool to ask for help. If you are in trouble, get down on your knees and cry out. I'm telling you, you don't need to be eloquent. I'm telling you, sometimes I just yell out, help, God. That's as deep as I can get. Do you know sometimes when you're hurting so much, all you can say is, help. So you guys can do this. And in verse 15, you read this. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. In 17, you read, the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. I'm telling you, if you're in a tight spot, yes, you should have studied, but you didn't. But cry out to God anyway. You need to find that job. Cry out to God anyway. You're tight on money. Cry out to God anyway. You should have budgeted well, but you didn't. That's okay. Cry out to God. Some of you, especially me, I've been in some tight spot financially. And then money just came through the post. I'm not even, I remember one time, we were just tight on money and 500 came through the post. I'm like, where did this money come from? And it turns out it had been a high school. We had paid money as a deposit for my son to go to that school. But then over the years, we just said, you know what, he didn't want to go there anymore. So we just said, okay, we won't go to that school anymore. But the deposit was gone, and we forgot about it. And then just at the right time when we needed the money, the school just decided, here's your money back. I'm like, come on now. This is not random. This is God answering prayer. And it doesn't even have to be allocated. Just this last week, as a friend of mine, close friend of mine, is wanting to buy a house. But the money that they had and the money that the people were asking for, there was such a big differential. We couldn't make up the differential. So what did he do? Just cry out to God. And what did I do? I just cried out to God a simple prayer. And God came through. And one thing that I actually want to encourage you guys to do is keep a prayer journal. Just a prayer journal where you just write something like, I am praying for this. And then just as you look over the years, you see how good God is and what God is doing to come through because he's so close. There's a gospel artist by the name of Mary, and this is what they say. God is so close, he can hear you breathing. He's so near, he can wipe your tears. Mend your heart, he knows it's been broken. He is standing with his arms wide open. For so long, he's been waiting every day, anticipating for you to realize that he's so close to you. So come on, somebody, you got to cry out to God because he listens to us. But I just want to do a bit of a disclaimer, a caveat, and aside is in this psalm, David is so emphatic with some of his language, right? Just listen, like, for instance, to verse 9. Fear the Lord, you his holy people, for those who fear him lack nothing. The lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Lack nothing, lack no good thing. But come on now, David, are you not on the run from Saul? So what do you mean you lack nothing? So are you saying if you are righteous, if you're a God's person, that you never face any troubles? That's not what he's saying. That is the one thing he absolutely is not saying. Because from our own experience, we know troubles come. From the life of David himself, we know troubles come. So just because you're a righteous person doesn't mean affliction does not come your way. What about the goat of righteousness himself? Jesus never did anything wrong, but affliction came his way on the cross. So troubles do come. And David knows this and he recognizes this when you read in verse 19. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. But I want you to concentrate on that first verse. The righteous person may have many troubles. So troubles are a given. Troubles will come. There's some troubles that aren't solved in this life. So when David is writing this psalm, yes, God comes through in rescues sometimes, but he also has a different timeline. He's got eternity in view. There are some things, for reasons we do not understand, are not solved in this life. You pray for that cancer to go away, but it doesn't. You pray to be married, to have a spouse, to have that wife, to have that husband, but it doesn't happen in this life. You pray to get pregnant, but it doesn't happen. You pray to have that job, but it doesn't happen. So there are some troubles that aren't resolved in this life. But in eternity, they will be resolved. So that verse is true. There is coming a time where you will be delivered from them all. But some of them not now. And this is where, like in Revelation, you read when the writer of Revelation is anticipating and is looking into this future, he writes, God will wipe every tear from your eyes. There will be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying, no more pain, for the old order of things has passed. So there is a final rescue yet to come. There is a rescue that you're yet to taste, and see. Don't you want to get to that point in the end where there's no more pain, no more sorrow, no more loneliness, no more being heartbroken, no more mental health, no more depression, no more troubles? That time is still yet to come. And I can't wait to taste that rescue. This is something you should get excited about. Some people get excited about this, some people do not. I don't know if you know this guy on the, I don't know if the slides are still working, but there's a slide with this guy here. He is called Stephen Fry. He's a British comedian, brilliant intellect, but he's an atheist. So he had this explosive interview in 2015 with Gay Byrne. I don't know if you guys heard, like even in the YouTube clips, it's got about 10 million views. But Gay Byrne asked him, hey, Stephen, when you got to the end, you know, that time we're talking about where God's going to wipe away every tear, what would you say to him? What would you say to God? And this is his response. He said, I will say, bone cancer in children, what's that about? I will say to him, how dare you create a world in which there's so much misery that is not our fault? It is not right. And you are evil, you're capricious, and you're monstrous. That's what he said he will say when he gets to the end. But if you're a follower of God, that moment, when that moment comes, it's not going to be a moment of questioning. It's going to be a moment of experience. It's going to be a moment for you to taste and experience a time where there is no more pain. Your answers to your questions will come. But at that point, you are rescued. And that final salvation will be yours. And it will just be a moment where you say, wow, I don't have to worry about cancer no more. I don't have to worry about dying no more. I don't have to worry about people sinning against me. I don't have to worry about me sinning against other people. It will be a moment to savor, not a moment of questioning. So if you're here and you're not sure whether you'll be able to taste and see that final salvation, what are you to do about it? Well, I'm going to invite you, where you are in your heart, to taste and see the salvation that Jesus gives on the cross. Have you experienced it for yourself? Or is it hearsay? You've just heard it from other people. Why not experience it for yourself and accept Jesus in your heart for yourself? And experience how he's going to rescue you from your troubles. What troubles, you ask? Troubles of your sin. Troubles that sin has brought in your life. The fact that it's disrupted your relationship with God. And that because of that, your destiny is eternal damnation. That is your trouble. But God will come through for you when you accept Jesus Christ. So I just implore you and urge you guys to taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is he who takes refuge in him. So